A gracious good morning. This is our final recap. In fact, it's a very fast one because by the fourth decision and going into the fifth, we're really just giving you graphics for your final report the last 2 weeks here. The final decision in week seven, this coming week, is decision five is very different because the inventory takes on the characteristics that you do on the slider, so you can broom your inventory. You don't have to as much to worry about on production side because there won't be a next period. So you produce what you can produce, and many times teams jump up because of this, because of the change in inventory. You have to watch the video. It's here there's a link right here in the messages. This is sim results are in the announcements for this week and next week. You can see red did great again. Yellow did great again. Blue's been having trouble getting their team together, and a disproportionate number of the decisions were made kind of by one person. But so we don't have the car lines being managed by individual people as much, but still did fantastic compared to where you started at with with the deep dips that we saw last week in the inheritance and the changes from way down to way up. That said, everyone did great. We started with negative, extremely negative EBIT in low cost and eco, and those have been fixed by everyone basically. The where blue really stumbled is they're great. They're above EBIT here. They did turn the company around, but should have been much stronger in the whole value in the value image lines. So or image lines, not the value line. But anyway, so we can see red has a strong number one position. Yellow is again breathing down their necks. These are just points apart on all the indicators, and somebody has to be third. So blue came in third, but we can't look at the places as much as how above EBIT are they, and how is our rosé, which you can see here. And then also, the final positionings here, just read this. Because what we need to do is we need to, for the final week, get some ratios going for our final report. And the two main, of course, financial leverage isn't a big deal here. Everyone is pretty much close, very close. Let me jump over to the bigger interface here so we can see this better. Because how do we do on rosé? Here's our rosé, 19% red. Congratulations, over 5 is still fantastic. Blue, you stumbled a little in image, but you're still close to break even on rosé, so that's fantastic. And everybody brought the negative ARE, which is impossible, up. So it's been a great sim, especially yellow carrying really strong and then red turning around, seeing what the ratios are for your final report, and we saw how much red has jumped up. What you really need to do is look at the operating leverage, and how does operating leverage is basically. I mean, there's three. You can use contribution margin, as you know, or you can just take, old over new minus old divided by revenue divided by or EBIT divided by net revenue. So, or contribution margin. There's two ways to figure out operating leverage. But, car industries, operating leverage is a lot like financial leverage, above break even or above fixed cost in the case, not debt in the case of financial, fixed cost in the case of operating leverage. It's like putting money in the basement. It's like drowning below it. So you'll see in the examples that, Ford Motor Company, when they had their turnaround 2008, they had a big crash and problem. They lowered their operating leverage, closed some plants, which we're not going to do in this sim, but they can in the longer sim, and got the operating leverage down until they got it fixed. Then they got it back up again so that they could, hit that revenue hard and multiply it. It's a change over a change. The formula is basically the change for operating leverage is, the change in EBIT over change in net revenue, or it's old old minus new over old in terms of look at the revenue. So do check your operating leverage. I already checked for all three teams, and you'll be amazed, just like lost over or inventory, how much red and yellow competed on operating leverage. Blue had a problem in terms of lost orders all the way along because it wasn't really been watched. Some of those sliders were just left alone because of some lack of participation in one of the car lines. And that's nobody's fault. It's just a time management kind of team get together, invest the time in the team or not. So, but even that being said, everyone did really well in terms of a whole universe. Rose is a great sort of benchmark universe with the way that yellow maintained it and red turned it around. So, really fantastic sim. And I would encourage you to check the operating leverage with the financials I gave you of all three. I'm going to give you more of these shots that you can take for the final report. That's our major one. This is low cost. And some of the teams actually created a spreadsheet and took the shots and and especially on yellow team, one person actually did the financials and the ratios off of the screenshots. There's family. I got the whole thing there. Sure we have the whole thing in all cost. Make sure we have the whole thing in the main. Look at eco. Take your screenshots and image. Whole purpose of screenshots is to be able to do a little bit of ratio analysis. I don't expect works hours and hours of work and figuring out your and everyone else's financials, but certainly things like operating leverage. In terms of financial leverage, it's not, capacity is important, but you'll see that you have non-operating results, which are nothing, but you have the EBIT to look at as well as the net revenues. And then of course, you'll see um, on the capital budgets when we get there later on all of the car lines, we'll see your leverages is in the 30% range. I mean, nobody's jumped up to 50 or 80%. Cash use has been great, including by Blue Team, has done a great job on managing cash resources. I would have put a little more cash, all of you, but especially Blue, into image rather than keeping, 5,000 on cash. It's a little bit better to quickly jump into some of our regular universe charts so we can see lost overs or inventory and see how it compares again to the three teams. Okay, here's our LOI shots that we'll take for the screen. Again, we'll have our zero line here and see that all three teams are doing fantastic, well above break even and low cost. And so these lines are following. You'll find that the white market lines are following well too. So all three teams really have the sim down, or at least select members on all three teams really have nailed it and are contributing a lot, and it's doing great. So let's just quickly look at we saw what happened where everybody was basically above water in low cost. Image will be a little different, but let's look at family. Uh, Again, yellow had some building of inventory in family, which is very good for the fifth decision. You want to come back and take it back, yellow. What can you do with that inventory given the video on decision five that Paul and I did? And that's in that link I showed you in last week's and this week's announcement. Now, you saw red corrected and got right back to zero after we said the one thing you got to do is you dip red. Let's not create a sine curve, but let's get back to the center. And blue, of course, is doing real well too, which is why they actually were positive. This is one of their positive EBITs was in family. Happy you were able to pick that up because family and image are real cash cows for the whole sim. Eco's always just impossible. It's a very difficult line to do, and yet red still did a great job of evening it out and getting close to zero. Here's your zero line. And look how close to zero all three teams are compared to where we've been. You all have really gotten your act together in terms of reducing inventory and also covering enough of plant. So you really are an example to be followed in terms of LOI and how you've managed it. It's just turned out fantastic. Let's see if we can find image where blue got into a little bit of trouble here. All right, here's our zero line. And you can see everybody's trend is good here, close to zero. Blue has had trouble producing all along in terms of being able to um, keep up with their orders. So when you have this much lost inventory, you're getting a huge amount of orders not being able to fill them. So the production side and the CapEx side of image is where Blue faltered. And they really needed, I mean, I know one person on the team was really working hard on two of the lines, but each person, kind of needed two lines plus a financial person working on it this time. And Image just didn't get that much attention on Blue. So still not terrible. And luckily, it was not way down as it was previously, which you started out strong. Everyone started out strong. and blue kind of dropped, and then the other two teams recovered with red now just having a flywheel. And you'll see how flywheels are created with capex and operating leverage if you run those ratios. Just look at your ratios, you know, your change in EBIT. It's like elasticity. It's a change of a change. So it's just a ratio. You just divide, you know, the contribution margin net revenue into the EBIT and the old and the new and see how it's changed. And you can see how your leverage has changed, you know, from it's a factor of five, five or eight or three or two, because obviously if it's a big number or a lower number, a littler number, you're going to have a factor rather than a ratio. So, and it's in the auto industry in general, it's true. You have a factor of five, which means, you know, five times you when you have a change in revenue, you have 5 times greater EBIT. So, I mean, that's what leverage is. It drives your results higher, but also the losses lower. That's why it's if you have, you know, um, a little bit less revenue, you have a lot less EBIT. So it really does it sensitizes everything. It changes the elasticity, which is just math, because elasticity is a change over a change, just like, you know, movement along the slope, not the slope. Same thing as the various leverages, including finance, which hinges on debt, or operating, which hinges on fixed costs. So that's our story in lost over inventory. The sliders are not a big story this time because everyone's done fantastic on the sliders, and it's just a no worry situation. You already are close on doing it, and there's no problems in any of the final decisions you made. It's just you have to watch the last video for the last sort of the last decision that involves inventory, and if you don't want to watch the whole thing, it's probably an hour long. Just fast forward to the end where Paul gives the main steps and the tip on how to get your inventory fixed, especially yellow. You can really jump back ahead and have a real close competition with red. But that said, we're really looking forward towards the final report. You've had plenty of stuff to put in of the various financials, ratios, and all that. Take your main slides. Value proposition is all coming. This is Sunday morning. They're all coming due this afternoon. We'll get the team results done, and literally everyone who has contributed to this course have done fantastic. And you'll see in our results, in all the value propositions and those decisions, that the final presentations really follow where you have made these decisions that have become course corrections. And that's really what we're looking for is if you have to do 6 bullets, make 5 of them on course corrections. You know, and pat yourself on the back if you did really good in the line and say, here's why we did good. But it's much better to see what you learned by having to make corrections where you saw what the other teams were doing, what the customers were doing, what the competitors were doing. And again, as there's no more CLC annexes, no more log books, and these are benchmarked results. So everyone has to do their own, you know, papers for the final papers, presentations, etc. You can do them as a video or you can do them as a PowerPoint. It's your choice. If you want to do a video, it's too long to drop in Halo, then throw it on a YouTube channel or convert it to a PowerPoint, or a PowerPoint to an MP4, or your PowerPoint just do speaker's notes, which is fine. Or you can do an audio side and narrate it. However you want to do it is fine. You can also decide if you're working really well as a team, you can do it as a team. You know, each of you take a part of it and then all submit the same one. That's fine. There's no similarity problems if you work as a team. Just cite each other. If someone has an idea, does this section, just say so-and-so did this section. You can also use AI like we did in the AI sort of exercise, and we will do. Just cite AI. So I used AI. This is how I use it. These are the prompts. So on the scholarships and the assessment and accreditation side, we want to see citations so that you're honest. But you can work together as a team and do it. That's part of this whole course and many other courses. In my all 3 of my doctoral courses, we did a lot of team benchmarks where you're turning them in yourself, but the team worked together to get it done. So that's real business, and that's how things work in the real world. So that being said, let's stop sharing here. And that is pretty much, let me see if I can have my rosé hat on. All right. Hi, this is me with rosé. Traditionally, we have to have the rosé hat on at the end. So thank you very much. There won't be a fifth recap except for your straight A's as you got them. Thank you. Bye-bye.